Hello and welcome to the first PSSN of the second semester. I'm Brennan May alongside Scott Skakowski, Mike Gilbert, Rob Breck. The Super Bowl was last night. Everyone was watching it. 100 million viewers in the United States, countless others overseas. Tons of big storylines. Seahawks last play call, they decided to throw it, got picked off by Butler, undrafted free agent. A great story, but they should have ran it there, right?
Well, I mean, when I first saw them come out in the shotgun, my first inkling was they're going to run the read option. You know, they'll keep the ball with either Russell Wilson or they'll hand it off to the
juggernaut. Which had been working all game.
Exactly. Towards the end of the game, he was tearing it up with his legs. So I either figured they were going to give it to him or they'll give it to the juggernaut Marshawn to get one last yard. But they decided to throw it. Didn't really work out well for them.
Well, I think that's the thing about Marshawn Lynch is he always gets more yards than you think he's going to get. Like in a first down run, most guys get 3 yards. He gets 4 or 5 yards because people just bounce off him. Marshawn Lynch, he should have gone with him there. The Patriots, they have Vince Wilfork in the middle, but they're banged up on the defensive line. They're not going to be able to stop Marshawn Lynch.
I think we're all going to be in agreement on this one because the whole country's in agreement on this one. If you're going to lose the game, lose it with the rock in Marshawn Lynch's hands. I mean, look, if you want to run like a little naked bootleg with Russell Wilson, if it's not there, throw it away, you do it. But if I'm Pete Carroll, I want to lose the game. If I'm going to lose the game with my best player, with the rock in his hands.
Yeah, and going off what you said, I mean, the Seahawks wanted to be in this position. You want to have the ball at the 1 yard line with your best player. Like, this is his bread and butter.
Right.
This is, one of the worst calls in Super Bowl history.
And I think what compounds it a little bit is that Russell Wilson didn't throw a great throw. Darius Butler closed really quickly. It was an open play. They could have scored a touchdown on that, and we wouldn't be talking about any of this. We'd be talking about how the Seahawks won. Russell Wilson wins another one back-to-back in his second and third years, something that no one else has done. But they didn't do it. They didn't convert. It wasn't a great throw. If the throw was on line a little bit out in front or a little bit even back shoulder, they could have scored on it. But they should have gone to Marshawn Lynch, maybe in the read option, maybe as a draw play. If you saw the way the Patriots were lined up, they had about 4 men on the line of scrimmage. They could have just dove right up the middle. Lynch would have scored, and we wouldn't be talking about any of this.
And I mean, Kyle Arrington, the reason they took him out of the game was he kept getting burnt in that inside corner spot. I mean, you look at this, that's also a testament to those defensive coaches as well, preparing them for, seeing those formations and being able to jump that route.
Yeah, and how about this guy Butler, an undrafted free agent, ends up making the biggest play in Super Bowl, one of the biggest plays in Super Bowl history.
A guy who wasn't an undrafted free agent but was pretty close, Tom Brady. He's turned into a nice little career for himself. You think he's cemented his legacy as the best of all time. Explain why.
Oh, exactly. So
That's coming from a Jets fan over here.
It is, and it's as hard as it is for me to admit. Tom Brady has now been in 6 Super Bowls. That's the most that any player's ever started. And let's be honest, he is 2 drop passes away. David Tyree in 2007 against the Giants, and then the Wes Welker drop from being 6-6 in Super Bowls. This cemented his legacy as the greatest of all time, in my opinion.
And I personally think Montana, because he went 4-0 in Super Bowls. Brady lost 2 heartbreakers to Giants teams that were probably worse than him. He didn't have great games in either of those. He had very strong teams around him. That 08 team should have won.
Here's the thing about that comparison, though, with Joe Montana is, look, they both won the 4 Super Bowls. Tom Brady got to 2 more Super Bowls than Joe Montana did. So how can you compare them like that and say Montana comes out on top? I didn't see Joe Montana play. I've been watching Tom Brady my whole life, but the thing is, if you look at that and think about it like that, Tom Brady has won the Super Bowls and got to 2 more Super Bowls, put the team on his back, really, and got to those 2 extra Super Bowls.
How much do you guys factor in the fact that they've had a dynasty over the entire time that Brady's been playing with Belichick? They've been in the Super Bowl every year or not the Super Bowl, but in the playoffs every year except the one that Matt Castle was the QB, so Brady wasn't even starting.
Did they go 11-5?
They went 11-5 that year. Yep.
Yeah, I think the most impressive thing about the Patriots' run is their longevity and their consistency. They've now been a top 5 contender basically every year for the last 15 years. That's a huge testament to that organization.
I think something that hurts Brady's case and Belichick too is that they lost 2 Super Bowls in that time span. They lost to your Jets a couple times. They lost to the Steelers. They lost to the Colts. They didn't win a Super Bowl for 10 straight years. And they were strong teams. They had good defenses. They had one of the best, probably the best offense, maybe with the Broncos offense of all time in 2008. Didn't win a Super Bowl with that team. Didn't win in 2010. Lost to the Jets a couple times. I think with the amount of losses they had, Brady isn't as clutch as maybe people thought he was earlier in his career. And I think that kind of hurts his legacy a little bit.
Can we take a brief moment to reflect on that playoff victory in Foxborough for Mark Sanchez and the New York Jets?
That's tough for you to say because you thought Mark Sanchez was the best QB of all time up until this Super Bowl. So it's tough for you to admit Brady now.
Well, from New York sports fans, this is probably our darkest hour since October 2004. and then when the Yankees blew a 3-0 lead to the Boston Red Sox. Seeing Darrelle Revis touch the Lombardi Trophy is just, it's a heartbreaker.
Speaking of Yankees versus Red Sox, Patriots versus Jets, Darrelle Revis, he was an integral part of this team, and it hurts you guys, it hurts Jets fans to see him win a Super Bowl for the Patriots. What do you think his next move is?
Well, personally, I think that he's going to Buffalo. If he doesn't stay in New England, Rex Ryan is now coaching Buffalo Bills, and Revis Island was at his peak when he was under Rex Ryan's defense. The Bills have 3 Pro Bowlers on their D-line. This is a team on the rise, and I see them dishing out the big money.
Yeah, this is a team that, again, needs one more piece in that secondary. You got Dennis Thurman there. You got Rex Ryan there. It's going to be tough to see him go to Buffalo, but that's where I think he's going to end up.
Darrelle Revis is on the mountaintop, though. He's been to the peak right now. He won a Super Bowl. He touched the Lombardi Trophy, which made you cry, for hours, I'm sure, all last night. But I don't see him going from the Patriots, the Kings of the AFC East. They've won it every year, but that year 2008 we talked about. I don't see him dropping down to the Bills, and I certainly don't see him dropping down to the Jets. He wants to stay in an established situation where he can win more Super Bowls.
I exactly agree with that. The reason why he went to New England was to win. Now it's up to him. Does he want to stay with the Patriots, who've been successful for 15 years now, or does he want to go to a team that is looking to rebuild?
All right, but Scott, you got to take into consideration how much he's all about the money. Because we've dealt with this before in when the Hard Knocks year 2010, when he wants that contract extension. You got to take that into consideration because the Pats are going to cut him because the salary cap ramifications by keeping him. What is it, like $25 million?
He has a $20 million option.
Salary
no
cap.
way they pick
that
up.
So he's not going to have a contract, and he's going to demand big money. Is New England? Is Bill Belichick going to go out and find another undrafted free agent cornerback, or is he going to sign him, or are they going to sign him for a large extension?
I do think that he'll give the Patriots the first chance to give him the contract that he wants. He's not going to go out to the Jets or the Bills before he lets the Patriots make an offer. And I think he'll give him a little bit of a discount.
Never underestimate the scumminess of Darrelle Revis.
Okay.
And the power of the almighty dollar.
True.
But let's be honest here. I mean, besides from Vince Wilfork and Tom Brady and now Rob Gronkowski, the Patriots have not dished out money. And when they have, it's been to homegrown players. I really don't see the Pats giving Revis the type of money which he could get from a team like the Jets or the Bills, who have around like $30 million in cap space and are one player, one elite player on defense from being a real contender.
Brady just took another pay cut. He's taken countless pay cuts over
Time
the
out.
years.
Did anyone just hear that statement from Rob that the Jets are one solid defensive player?
You tried to slip that past us.
Hey, we gotta have faith. Gotta have faith. It's been a long day today.
Can't slip that by me. But yeah.
Do you guys think that this Super Bowl win is corrupted at all by the Deflategate allegations?
Look, the Patriots beat the Colts by 37 points. It doesn't matter if the ball's off by a couple tenths of a PSI. They're going to win that game every time.
How far are the Colts from contending?
The Colts?
The
Colts couldn't stop a nosebleed.
They have the guy under center. It's going to be another 2 years before they're actually competing.
That is the thing about the Colts.
But they are actually competing though. They're winning the division.
That is the thing about the Colts.
They're not winning the division. They're getting in the playoffs.
Anytime you have a QB that good, who's that young, you got to pencil them in for a few years. Listen, Brady's not going to be around forever. Peyton Manning's not going to be around forever. I feel like all the good, strong QBs are in the NFC with Rodgers and with Russell Wilson, all the young guys. I think that it's Luck's time soon. I'm going to give him 4 or 5 more years, though. And as a whole, give the Colts 4 or 5 more years. But look at it. They've already been successful. They were in the conference championship this year. They lost to the Patriots. They're a very strong team. Their defense has been improving. They had one of the best corners in the year this year. They need a few more pieces on offense, I think. They need a running back because the guys that they had, Richardson is a black hole as a running back. I think he had like negative yards per rush this year or something like that. And terrible for my fantasy team. Not as bad as Adrian Peterson, but pretty terrible for my fantasy team. But I think they're a couple years away. You guys don't think that Deflategate ruins any of the legacy, any of the oomph behind this win for the Patriots, though?
I think that it doesn't ruin anything from the Super Bowl, but you got to look at the facts. The New England Patriots were the one team in the NFL who did not fumble on a rush attempt this year. Since 2007, they've only fumbled 23 rush attempts. That is the lowest in that span. There's something to be said. I don't think it takes anything away from the victory, but Belichick has now been caught cheating 3 times, and that needs to be taken into account.
With Rob just calling out Bill Belichick, we're going to have to go to break so I can beat the crud out of him during break. We'll be back with more, maybe with Rob, maybe without. I think DeMarco Murray could go either way, but I think the Cowboys definitely make a point to hang on to their star receiver, Dez Bryant. They allowed Tony Romo to just chuck the ball up 50 yards into the air and let Dez come down with it as one-handed catches. You guys think, of course, they hold on to Dez, right?
Yeah, I mean, Dez has got to be considered a top 5 red zone threat, and I think that Jerry Jones is going to offer him as much money as he wants to stay a Cowboy.
Pay the man.
Jason Witten only has a couple more seasons. Tony Romo is going to need a threat if they want to be good for the next 4 or 5 years.
Speaking of red zone threats, the Broncos have 2 of them in Julius Thomas and Demaryius Thomas, who are both free agents. They could probably afford to keep both of them with the way they've handled their salary cap and brought in cheap guys. Do you guys think they're going to hold on to both those guys?
I mean, I think that an important thing for them is they're going to want to see if Peyton Manning can still perform at a high level. He's been questioned if he's healthy right now, and I think that if he could, why not stay with the guy? You know, they've been winning a ton of games the past couple of years.
I know we talked about this earlier, but I just want to throw this out there. Eric Decker has been recruiting Demaryius Thomas to come to New York, but I think they slapped the franchise tag on him.
I could definitely see the franchise tag, but I don't know if Denver is that appealing of a place, especially with the questions in there about Peyton Manning. They just got a new head coach. If I was them, I would go get the money because they're definitely going to get paid.
Some guy that was about to get paid by a Las Vegas club, turned it down, and then went and checked himself into rehab. Johnny Manziel, one of my favorite players in the NFL, one of the most popular players in the NFL, one of the most polarizing players in the NFL, checked himself into rehab. What's this all about, guys?
Well, there have been rumors around Cleveland this entire season, ever since he got drafted, that he was just partying too much. Players were not happy with his attitude about the NFL, and I guess the rumors are true. He's in rehab now.
Look, they gave him a fair shot, and they stuck with Brian Hoyer as long as they possibly could. They gave him a shot. He didn't do much with it, like we said earlier, and I just think that he needs to really get his life together, to be honest.
Yeah, if he performed well in those couple of games that he started in this year, I don't think this would be a whole different story. I don't think it would have been an issue. There have been the Gronkowskis and the Janikowskis who are go out and party, but
all those Owskis, dude, they're all crazy party monsters. Yeah. I think that it's all a front. I think he'll be there for a day, maybe 2 days at tops. I think he just wants to show the Browns organization that he's committed. He's going to be the same old Johnny. You can't change a guy like that this quickly. I don't think we're going to lose out on any of the fun theatrics of Johnny Manziel.
I mean, I thought that was one of the most entertaining stories of the year when Josh Gordon was hungover because he went to Johnny Manziel's party. Come on.
I mean, it does seem like it's an issue a little bit. He's showing up late to practice. He missed a rehab assignment for his hamstring, and now he's checked himself into rehab. It could be because of his family. There's a lot of different issues here. We don't know the full story, and I think that's one of the things that we kind of have to respect about this story. But I think there's a lot of things at issue here. The Browns still need a QB. I mean, Brian Hoyer, people thought he might have a chance to be a stud QB. Maybe not now. Some people have been saying to the Jets possibly. I don't know. There are a lot of teams out there that need a QB, and he's shown before that he can be a competent QB.
How smart does Dallas look right now, though, taking Zach Martin over Johnny Manziel in that first round? And they had to pull the draft
and
card
everyone
out
thought
of Jerry Jones's hand.
Everyone thought they were taking Johnny because what a perfect fit, a guy who's already from Texas.
Guy,
exactly, and going to the Cowboys of all organizations. He might be dead right now if he was on the Cowboys. It was just too much partying. If he's doing all this stuff in Cleveland, what do you think he'd be doing in Dallas, Texas?
I mean, J.R. Smith literally said the other day that going from New York City to Cleveland was the best thing for him. Johnny Manziel's doing it in Cleveland. That's a good point. You gotta remember that.
We're going to shift over to Penn State basketball. They lost to Illinois. They had two games in a row that they won. They were looking all right. DJ Newbell's looking like one of the best players in the Big Ten. What have you guys seen so far from the team?
I think that it's been apparent that Penn State can compete in games. They can keep games close, but they haven't been able to finish. And to compete and be successful in the Big Ten, you're going to have to be able to finish those games. You can't start off the year going 2-7 in conference.
And it's so disappointing, too, because they were so strong out of conference. And I feel like this happens every year. It happened with the football team this year with Penn State fans. Everyone gets so psyched during the out-of-conference schedules with the cupcakes that they were playing because the team looks so good. And then they hit in-conference schedule and lose all the big games.
And look, they started poorly in the Big Ten, but then they beat up Rutgers. They closed, that's what you're saying was important. They closed that game against Minnesota, and then to lose that game to Illinois was a heartbreaker. It looked like they had something. I think that John Johnson loss really hurt this team.
Yeah, not to mention Brian Taylor, their second leading scorer, going out, or Brandon Taylor, excuse me. But I think that once he comes back, if they can get back to playing how they were against Minnesota and Rutgers, they could have a chance to make some noise in the Big Ten Conference Tournament. and just
That's
have
our
it-
only hope in
Yeah.
the NCAA tournament right now is to make some noise in that conference tournament.
What do you guys think about Brandon Taylor? Personally, I hate him. I think he's a ball stopper on offense. He's not
He's
a great
slow.
shooter.
He's
I don't
very
know.
slow.
I don't know what he's built like
Slow-footed.
he's built like a linebacker. I don't know what he's doing. But I think that he can't shoot. He thinks he can shoot, and the thing is, he'll make a shot. You can see it in his eyes. He's like, I'm on fire.
Do you guys remember Paul Harris on Syracuse? Because he reminds me exactly of Paul Harris. He just takes those weird random
Yeah.
shots, but he can't shoot.
He's got
He
a
thinks,
nice.
he thinks he's a point guard, but he's playing
Exactly.
the 4 or 5.
He's got a nice little post game. He can do some things. He's got a big lower half. He can do some things down low a little bit. I think the overall question you have to be asking about Penn State basketball is whether or not they can ever compete in the Big Ten. Listen, teams have come out of nowhere and competed in conferences. Gonzaga, out of a much poorer conference than Penn State, than the Big Ten, they've been competitive. There have been other teams that have been competitive. BYU was never really that strong until they, Jimmer got there, and then a couple other things.
I don't think
happened.
it's time. It's definitely not time to panic yet for them because Pat Chambers' 3rd year as head coach, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, third
I
year.
believe so, yeah.
He give him a little bit more time. I mean, the Big Ten. Here's the thing with the Big Ten Conference: they have opportunities to win these late games and play their way into the NCAA tournament and maybe make some noise. But I think they're a year or two away.
I think
still.
there are a couple ways you can think about it because people cite the great recruiting class that's coming in. First of all, I don't know what Pat Chambers is paying these guys to come, but who would come to Penn State?
I
to
mean,
play
look,
basketball?
they have some good facilities.
They have nice facilities. The BJC
It's a
is
Big
all
Ten
right.
school.
I think the BJC is personally too big. I think it would be cool if we played if the Penn State basketball team played all the games at Rec exactly. But the other way you could look at it is DJ's leaving next year. DJ's not going to be there next year. He's carrying, one of the biggest brunts of anyone in a major conference for his team. He's not going to be able to do that next year. There are young guys. Look, Shep Gardner is playing real well. Flavor Flav probably rubbed off on him with his basketball expertise, of course. But he looks like he could be a stud soon. But there are a lot of things that they have to work on for sure. And I don't really love Pat Chambers as a coach either. Welcome back to PSSN. I'm Brennan May for Rob Breck, Mike Gilbert, and Scott Sikowski. This has been PSSN. We've been talking a lot about the great sports that we have here at Penn State, a lot about the great sports we have in the NFL. Big Super Bowl win for the New England Patriots. But that's going to be it for PSSN. We'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.